Do you understand what legal consumers actually want? What level of service they actually need? What potential clients are afraid of? What can we, as attorneys, learn from non-legal industries? Our guest this week is Kim Bennett. Kim is the founder of K Bennett Law LLC, a boutique subscription legal services firm that helps small businesses protect their brands and grow profitable and sustainable seven-figure organizations. We'll discuss how to get out of the lawyer mindset and look at your practice from the outside. We have a lot to learn from other industries, and the potential for growth is tremendous. We'll discuss how the legal industry is stuck in a mode where we act as the scolding parent to our confused and petulant clients, instead of anticipating their needs and understanding their concerns. We need to find ways to focus on what the clients are actually looking for and meeting clients where they are, and then let that transform our approach to legal services. Let's get to it. I'm John Strohmeyer, and this is the 5-Star Counsel Podcast. The market for legal services is shifting, and lawyers who don't adapt will be left behind. This podcast gives you a competitive edge in today's market by sharing the client service lessons you probably didn't learn in law school or in law practice. Let's start the show. Hey 5-Star listeners, before we start, I want to tell you about our amazing sponsor, Smith AI. Smith AI is a virtual receptionist service for small businesses with a specialty in working with solo and small law firms. I signed up with them within weeks of starting my firm because they are affordable for even the smallest solo practice. Their friendly receptionists respond to potential clients in Spanish or English, screen and schedule new leads, and can even take payments. And now they're answering calls 24 hours a day. So even when you're asleep, they're still working. Even beyond the phone, they've got live agents and chatbots ready to capture leads on your website, by text, and by Facebook Messenger. Smith's friendly gatekeepers can staff your front line so you can work uninterrupted. You can finally have the peace of mind that while you're working, you're not missing out on future work. Plans start at just $70 a month for calls and $100 a month for chats. Smith AI is offering a free trial, and our podcast listeners get an extra $100 discount code with promo code 5STAR. That's FIVESTAR. Sign up and learn more at www.smith.ai. Don't let another day go by. Try Smith AI. Kim Bennett, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Well, it was good to finally see you at Tech Show a couple weeks ago. It will be a couple months by the time this finally airs. And you and Jack Newton were talking about you had one title for your presentation, but you had nestled inside of there the concept of the consumerization of legal, which I really liked and has stuck with me. But the other thought was lawyers need to stop just looking inside the lawyer head and start looking at other industries for ideas. So that's kind of a big softball. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, I guess that is a big softball. Where do I want to start? I think as legal professionals, we have an amazing opportunity right now to rethink how we've delivered services, right? To rethink what clients expect from us, what their experiences are like, and a lot of that can be learned from other industries. While I recognize as a legal profession, we can't do every single thing another industry does, there's still tremendous opportunity to learn and to take nuggets, wins, pieces, and then apply it to what we do day in, day out. And that's what I've done from the start of my practice. That's what I continue to do. And that's what I think is a big part of what's like the big gap of what's missing, not just from an access to justice perspective, but just what people expect and what they think of as legal professionals when they're interacting with us day in, day out.
Right. We've just kind of worked ourselves into here. We're on our little island. We are lawyers. We're going to apply billable hours or legal thought to whatever you're doing in the way that we see fit. And we're going to do it the way we've been doing it for a generation or two or three, depending on how and where you're practicing. And it turns out clients have changed and maybe we're getting left behind.
Yeah, 100%. I think what that looks like in practice is that we've stayed very stagnant and clients have evolved, and not even just clients, the community, our world has evolved, and we have yet to catch up. How people interact with services, how they interact with products, what information they have readily accessible to them, all that has changed. But as a profession, we have still stayed in the same stuck way that frankly puts us as the parent to the child, when in fact we are taught we can't do that, but we do practice that way every single day. So I think there's just so much opportunity to say, well, what's happening in a client's daily life that allows for us to support them in that experience, right? And they're every single moment of the day. I say legal touches everything because it does, but clients don't understand that because we've done a terrible job of explaining it, educating on it, restricting those who can do educate and explain it too. And that has led us to where we are today, where people only look at us to put out fires, where people think about us as like the place of last resort, where people think fearful of working with legal professionals when there's just so much more opportunity when we can support them on the positive and maybe not so positive things that are happening in their life and design experiences that align with what people expect today as they are in interacting with any other service provider.
Right. And again, just to tie it back, your word, I'm pretty sure you were the one who said it, but it was consumerization of legal. Let's focus on actually what the clients are looking for. And it's this crazy idea that it's not just about what you, the lawyer, want. It's what will make it effective, what's going to get the clients across whatever finish line, get them whatever result they're looking for.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, here's the thing. I think a lot of us want to see we want to give A work. And I don't think, I want to give A work all the time. That doesn't mean that to solve someone's problem requires that level, right? Somebody might just need, education on how to do something. Like I find it interesting that today we still have court systems where someone can't be explained how to fill out a form. Like that makes no sense. That then causes a ripple effect of so many other issues, right? And so if we met people where they're at based off of what they need, based off what they said they wanted, that means we would design a broader scope of products. We would allow for more people to provide services. That would mean that we would look at how technology can integrate with what we do. That would mean that we would look at how, the roadblocks that we've put in place to date don't really serve the people that we need to serve. And that would also mean that we wouldn't be focused on 70, we would be focused on the 70% or 80%, whatever that number is today, of legal needs that are left unmet, and not just the 20%, which is what we've always done because we've had this really small way of thinking about what people want. When people have told us we want education products, we want quick ways to get our wills done, we want a quick way to get our trademark done. And I'm a trademark attorney. So does that mean it's going to impact my business? No, it just means that there's still plenty of people I've never worked with and they still want that thing. So they should get it in some other way. And so that's what I'm thinking about every day.
Right. And I mean, just when you said meeting people where they're at, it really does remind me of one of the things we were taught, and it just kind of drilled into us, the Four Seasons. You meet the guest where they are, not necessarily where you are. And one time somebody came in, she was a woman in a wheelchair, and most hotel check-in desks, it's about chest high. So asking her to sign a piece of paper, because it was still before you could sign electronically to get in, I'd be asking her to sign something she couldn't even see. So it was the thought of, look, if you're there, what does she want? Meet her where she is, walk around the table, give her something hardback to sign on, let her actually read it. And that's where we need to be with clients. We can't expect everybody, as an estate planner, it's always the thought of, oh, well, clients know you're going to send me some form that's 7 or 8 pages, and nobody wants to fill that out. I know from having worked at multiple firms, nobody likes filling it out. They never get it back to you. And even those of us who do know where stuff is, it's just a pain. And so I've optimized my process for when you call in, we're just going to get that information when you call. And if you schedule something first with me, well, you're not actually scheduling with me anymore. We're making it easy. Whatever information you've got in your head, just tell us, and we'll kind of pick up as we go along. Because, again, drawing back that A+ work, for estate planning, I don't need to know exactly how many pennies you have in your IRA. I need to know it exists and roughly how big that slice of your financial pie is.
Yeah, I think that's a great example, right? Because I think sometimes we don't think about the big picture and like what like, what is the person trying to accomplish at this moment, right? That person was trying to accomplish, I'm trying to get checked in to the hotel. And how do I do that? And I need to fill out these certain things that you require, but how do you make it as easy as possible? How do you make it with the things that I really need to do, right? So what it doesn't look like how I did it before with everyone else, but now based off of what this current customer in this instance needed, you were able to adapt and adjust in a way that was very easy and that allowed for the experience to be better. And then when I think about the same way, like there's so many ways that we can, someone doesn't like to fill out a form, right? Ask them over the phone, right? You can collect it. Do you need all that information? Maybe, or maybe not. Like, what's the big picture here? What are you trying to achieve? And then think through how you can make it in the easiest experience, and not even truly just only for the clients, but also for the team or yourself if you're working by yourself. And that just makes it more consistent, more fluid, it makes it easier, makes you feel like you're more in flow than when you're sticking to a rigid way of doing something that really doesn't meet the needs of where people are at today or in the future.
Exactly. Yeah. Again, it's focusing on that big picture. Clients don't want, clients don't want the drill. They want the hole in the wall. They don't want the trademark. They want somebody to not use their brand and their name. They don't want a will. They want people to not have a mess. They may be litigious, in which case they might want every motion and whatever litigators do in litigation land that I don't know about. But, rather than kind of keep filling it up with words, it's, again, stepping back and realizing clients are coming to us for help in getting some sort of result, not just the liberal application of billable hours to their situation.
Yeah, and I mean, we can go on a whole conversation about how I hate billable hours and how I think that creates a lot of friction for clients as well, because it's not thinking about, how to best deliver this in a systematic way, in a way that is truly scalable, in a way that is, just doesn't do the same thing twice, not because you don't want to learn from it, but because there's a better way to show up and to serve people without doing the repetitive work that, say, tech could do, that if you just process it out could do. And all of that leads to this better experience. And I just think when we're thinking, even with like archaic things like the billable hour, it just keeps us in this space where we're either creating a lot of friction with clients or we're not meeting them where they're at. And we're just focusing on, okay, I'm just here for you right now. This is the one thing that I offer you versus what am I offering you in the context of what you're experiencing every single day. And I think that's really the shift that people need to start making.
Right. So in terms of rethinking what we're doing and getting off our island, you and Jack Newton were talking about getting ideas from other industries. Clearly, I've built a podcast on one
That's
other
right.
industry, but tell me, what other industries were y'all looking at? And obviously, don't just tell me tech.
Right. No. So we looked at like food service as an example. We used like Domino's as an example of that, and just what they did in that industry. I mean, as a quick like overview, if people don't know the story of Domino's, go look it up. You can kind of learn a little bit about what happened with Domino's, but essentially they were at the brink of failure, right? Like they literally failed. And instead of them saying, I'm not going to learn, I'm not going to listen, they just said, let me listen to those that I serve, my customers, and ask them, hey, we failed. We may create not so great pizza, but what could we do better? How can we show up for you better? And by listening to the people that buy from them, that want to buy from them, that they had failed in the past, they turned what was a failing business now into a quite thriving business by learning key things strategically. And one of the things we talked about was their fortressing strategy, which is essentially Domino's basically putting all of their stores in certain locations, like making sure that their stores are blocked in such a way that they take up a good market share in a smaller place. So if you need Domino's pizza, you ordering Domino's pizza, you order and you get it fast, not simply because they're making it fast, but they've designed their operations to be able to deliver it to you fast by having multiple stores in a small area. And so they didn't need to serve every single person and do every single thing, but they needed to learn what didn't work. They asked people, like the people that were really buying from them, they made some adjustments, and then they like leveraged technology and other, strategies to make it happen. And I think just taking that as an example, one, like a failing industry, which maybe this is controversial, but I would say if we as an industry are failing to meet 70 to 80% of legal needs, then I would call that failing. So then as an industry that's not doing well, if we learn from Domino's and say, why don't we ask those that we're serving, what could we do better? And then if we listen to them, which some states are doing, even though some of my colleagues don't love what consumers are saying, we can then maybe make a better, more impactful system. And yes, we're not Domino's. Yes, legal profession has more impact, but I love this idea of what they did in that sense of like having a lot of choices, really doubling down on the areas that they're going to serve, listening to their clients, and then they turned around a failing business to be one that people love now, and they leverage technology along the way.
Right. I'm not going to lie. We have a Domino's nearby. They make regular deliveries here because, well, we're able to do that. Quick aside on, we're also supposedly in the test market for their automated delivery vehicles. And the thing they have not made easy is for me to figure out how to actually get the robot to drive to my house, even though we know our store is the one, and they do actually, like, a couple times a week, I'll see the cars that are out tracing the neighborhood to, make sure they've got accurate maps. But
cool.
But Kim, one of the things I wanted to pick up on, and it's something that's really subtle. When you ask the question, hey, how was everything? Whether it's in a restaurant or grocery store, anywhere, people are always going to be like, oh, it was fine. Mm-hmm. But when you ask them a question that can't be answered yes or no, what could we do better? It forces people to stop. And even if you've thought about it before, or even if you're still going to blow the person off and keep on walking, it does act as a pattern interrupt for people to stop and actually think what could have been done to make it better. And it really was something when I was still at the hotel, that was how we phrased things. As they were checking out, was there anything we could have done to make your stay better? Knowing that if we just said, how was your stay? Everybody usually mumbles, oh, it was fine. And whatever they were thinking stays in their head. But if you give them the, did we screw anything up? Obviously, you're just inviting bad comments. But if you ask it in such a way of how can we get better, the people that spend money with you generally want you to do well. They want to be reinforced that they've purchased the right product.
100% agree with that. And I'll tell you something I've actually never talked about. Like my first job was in retail. Well, technical first job was working with children. But then after that, it was retail. And same thing, we were always told not to do yes or no answers, right? Not to ask a yes or no question. And I do think that leads to much more thoughtful, impactful, and then action-taking steps that you can implement. And like as a practitioner, you can ask that in different ways across the journey of working with a client. So it doesn't just have to happen at the end. It doesn't even have to happen with the people that are only your clients, right? Like it can happen when you're in a consult. It can happen when you're in, when someone decides not to hire you. It can happen then when they do hire you and during the process of just working with you, so that you can learn what is resonating and what's not, and where are your opportunities for improvement. And I think that's the thing, like the iteration piece, which I think we are as a profession starting to build on more, which is starting to iterate. But we have so much further to go, and so much and moving away from the fear of failure. And you even see it in this idea of like the sandboxes, where we're creating all these sandboxes to like prevent failure, when you can't actually test the thing unless you do the thing, right? Like we have to listen to people, ask our community, our consumers, our potential clients what they want, and then do the thing. And then be okay with it always not working out, but that we can inform them enough and they can make decisions, and we can work alongside them versus being the parent to them, and allow for us to build a better legal profession, a better legal industry. And I love that, because I think those questions, going deeper, asking the thing that maybe you get the answer you don't really love, but it's the answer that makes you so much better from the people who actually care about you. I mean, and I'm going off a little bit here, but like I always say to my friends, I'm the type of friend that like keeps it very real, right? Like keeps it 100, meaning that if you ask me something and you want my opinion, I'm going to give you the honest opinion, but you always know, and I say this to my nieces too, or my nephews or whatever, it's always coming out of a place of love. And so if you use that same principle to your clients with the example that you said, those that love you are going to give you good feedback from a place of love typically, right? So that you can improve upon it and then make it better, because they want to return and spend their money. They want to return and refer their friends. They want to get the experience that they thought they were going to get, and maybe there was a small hiccup or a huge hiccup along the way.
Oh my gosh. Just the empathy is something that comes up. There's the difference between us as lawyers acting as, mere technicians, and having the care for our clients, our employees, ourselves, that really sets us apart as professionals. And it's not just us as lawyers because we have that degree. It's the guy who cuts my hair, the guys who mow my lawn, the guy good enough to come pick up my laundry and do the dry cleaning. Like, you can tell when somebody actually cares about you, and it does make that, it makes it so much better in so many ways that you can't miss out on that.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's right.
Yeah. So one of the things thinking about getting inspiration from other industries. What kind of retail did you work in?
Clothing. So I worked in some of the stores you might still see today. Like I did, I mean, I can name them, but I did like Club Monaco, I did Aeropostale, I did all types of stores. So
yeah, buzz marketing is totally fine here. Sadly, I don't get a cut from it. Yeah, neither do I.
They need to.
But the thing that will be consistent across all of those, and I did, my fair share of retail, mostly not clothing, but one clothing place. It was always everything had to be clean. Mm-hmm. And it's the idea that even that simple thing, it doesn't matter if you're going into a retail store or a restaurant or a hotel, if it's not clean, you're just going to automatically think, what the hell's going on here? But you walk into, 1 out of 3 lawyers' offices, and thank God this podcast is audio only, it looks like a bomb went off. What do you convey?
Does not look like a bomb went off. So
I know, because I've framed things nicely. But just, thinking about, again, those simple lessons that people seem to pass by and say, well, no, look, you're getting me, the technician, versus me, the professional who cares about what I'm conveying to you.
Yeah, I will say, I think some of like the thought process, or I don't know, superpower that comes from my past experiences that have allowed for me to design a little bit differently come from working in retail, come from being a clinical psychology grad student, come from these other experiences that said like empathy should rule, right? Like, we are human beings dealing with other human beings, whether that's in a, dealing with their individual lives or their businesses. Like, we're still doing that. And I think when I think about one of the other examples we did in the talk was Starbucks. And when you think about Starbucks, I drink a lot of Starbucks. But when you think about them, you can only get coffee, or like the example we use, they insert themselves into your birthday celebration. Yes, to get a new coffee, but like, you think about it, like, darn it, I didn't get my free birthday coffee from Starbucks. Or can they extend that a week? Because like, it makes them be a part of like your normal day-to-day interactions and operations. And if we started saying that we are not this thing that comes in, that flies in, answers a question and goes out, but actually is just a part of someone's daily lived experience, whether that's in their personal life or their professional life or whatever places that we can come up in, then I think it starts shifting how we design services. It starts shifting what questions we're asking. It starts shifting what, ultimate product we're end up selling them, because we're thinking about all of the ways we interact with them daily in different facets and different areas and different, locations, if that is even a thing anymore.
Right. Well, one of the simple things they do is making sure that they may misspell your name, but they're using your name in a way that a lot of other coffee places don't or won't. Now, where I live, we've got a coffee place that we walk to. I made sure and introduced myself to the owner because he was there, but it also makes sure he knows who I am, to give him that opportunity, even if they're, not thinking that way. It's small enough that I know who he is.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the personalization part. That's what Starbucks leverage. Netflix leverages the same thing, right? Being able to customize it in ways that are sustainable. So like, if we're thinking about other industries and what they do, no, we can't do every single thing because we're service providers. But there are parts of it that we can, really streamline, and that we can customize as we need to, that we can personalize as we need to. And then when you can't, Well, that's why we're service providers, right? Then that's where we come in and we can do the extra layer that a product just can't deliver in some ways. And so I just think there's so much opportunity. I think when I started designing, whether it was subscriptions or working virtually or any of the other things that I do it today, was because I saw other industries doing it. And I thought, well, why can't we? I know this is how I work. This is how I live. This is how I want to show up. Why can't I show up that way for the people that I want to work with? And when I just introduced it as a what if I just did this? How would that make you feel? And then people say yes, then you keep going. And then you keep asking a little what if I? And that's how, just continue to ask that question and think through what the possibilities look like if I didn't stay in one bubble and looked at what others were doing in industries, like you said, like the ones that you come from and others as well.
Exactly. And we all, even if you didn't work in retail or if you didn't work in a restaurant or a hotel, you're going and using all of these different services. Think about it. What do you like there? Why are you going back to any of these places? Write those down, see what works. It may not be, I love going to Disneyland, but I'm not building the Matterhorn for any of my clients. But what about it? What about the wait line that I can think about is like, okay, look, we don't have documents 10 minutes after you've told us something. How can I make it better or easier for people to work with us and work through us?
Yep. I love it. I mean, that's exactly how I think too. Like, I'm not going to be LegalZoom, but I don't hate LegalZoom, right? There's an opportunity for me to see, okay, what is our research and development doing that I can then customize and personalize to the people that I serve, that I can then leverage and do things a little bit differently that really match how I also want to show up, because I may not want to do some of the things that they do, or I don't have the capacity to do it. But there's still pieces that we can take from it and learn from it and then design better so that the ultimate outcome is a better product, a better service, a better experience, and that people will say, oh, it's what I expected. Like, even just meeting expectations is like half the battle,
Exactly. All right, Kim, we're coming close to the end of our time here. We've talked about a lot of things we can do and just in looking around. Is there any one practical thing you want to pass on to listeners about where to get started, whether it's subscriptions or anything else in making their practice better and more consumer focused?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do two. Sorry.
Go for it.
Hopefully I'm breaking two. Okay. So first thing is to really care about who you're serving. I think a lot of us jump to designing the product, designing the service and doing all that, but who are you serving? Get to know them, learn them, see what they like, what they don't like. Yes, there's the basic demographic data, but there's also the other pieces that you have to do a little more research and a little more discovery to be able to get to know them really well. So I know people say this all the time, but do not skip learning who you actually want to work with and aligning that with what you do. And then I will say, kind of align with that is to roadmap it and to create what their experience is like, what's happening in their life. So if you're a divorce attorney, you're not helping them get a divorce, you're helping them move to the next stage in life to have a happy life, maybe co-parenting. If you work with trademarks, like John, you were saying earlier, I'm not just helping them get a registration, I'm helping them protect their brand so they can, close the next big deal. They can be on that shelf that they want to be on. So think through what is really the roadmap of what the experience is, the person that you're working with or the business that you're working with, and map that out and then say, well, how do I support them along that process? Not what you do as the service provider, but how I help them in that process. And if you kind of work those two, I think that moves you really far, whether that's moving to subscriptions, whether that's, you designing a more, client experience focused practice. But those are two things that I would recommend.
Excellent. Kim, we've come to the end of the time, but where can our dear listeners find you out on the internets?
Guess you can find me at a lot of places. Right. So at K Bennett Law, I'm mainly on Twitter a lot. So I'm there. So find me there. And then I have my Fidu Legal, which is my tech app. So if, you can find us there. And then I have Atlanta Legal Tech, which is my community. So I have my practice, I have my tech app, and I have my community. So all those are all opportunities to chat and to learn more and to just really think about what it's like to design a better legal industry.
Excellent. Kim, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. You can find more info on us and get your free white paper on client service at 5starcounsel.com. You can get in touch with me at john@5starcounsel.com. If you enjoyed the podcast, please subscribe wherever fine podcasts are found and leave us a review wherever you can.